I channeled this entire like 15,000 words while I was manic, but anyways. Hi, Neurodivergence is God consciousness, and in this video I want to share how my personal experience of traits that are deemed neurodivergent have existed or continue to exist for me as a portal to the divine, to my conception of God or God consciousness. Specifically, there are 4 traits that I want to discuss in this portion of the video. I have more and I have written about each of them, but I wanted to start with these 4. So to ease you into this experience, I'm going to start with a relatively light trait, ideation. In order to not have to bleep out that term all the time, I'm going to be using a euphemism and probably something like the desire to leave or the desire to go, with the meaning of leave the physical realm, leave this human body. In regards to this trait, I feel that, and I'm still figuring out how to name this, but I do feel that the desire to leave is a type of divine remembrance. What I do feel like occurs for me more often than not when I am experiencing the desire to go is feeling and this sensation that can sometimes be overwhelming, but certainly persistent, that like whatever is going on here is not for me. But also sometimes it's just a low background simmer of just like, wouldn't it be nice if the portion of me that is a spirit keeps being like, why do I have to be beholden to those social constructs? Why can't we shift like what is happening here? Why do I have to subject myself to other people's imaginations? That's generally the feeling that I get when I have that desire to go. It's not generally acute. I do think there are times and circumstances that lead me to feel that way more, to have that remembrance more. But when I say divine remembrance, part of what I'm talking about is I know that there's more than what is visible to the eye. And I think a lot of us do. Well, certainly you who's watching. I know that there's more than what's visible to the eye. And I also think that I have a visceral memory for not having to be human and not having to abide by the constructs, the social and psychological constructs of this particular lived experience. So I think that very often when I'm experiencing that desire, it is not a matter of necessarily wanting to not exist, like not necessarily looking for oblivion, but instead knowing and remembering and lamenting that there is a different and more comfortable way that I have existed and that we could exist also. I think that's also what, like, the thing that really gets me is like the social constructs of it all. And I love a construct. I think I've said this before, but I do love a construct, but I just feel like the way we've organized ourselves is so annoying. It's so annoying, and it's like it just induces more suffering than is necessary, because the like being alive is already enough. Like we're already going through enough. Experiencing and feeling emotions, like I think just within that experience, you can cultivate enough suffering. So it's really agitating to me to look around and be like, okay, so you've actually specifically said, how can we dial this up to like over the max? I find that really agitating. Yeah, that's my stance on that. I do think that the desire to leave also comes from, I've been playing around with this conceptually, but it's not that it's dysmorphia, because I like the body I have and I mostly enjoy the human experience, but I think that there's a level of like amorphia in which I feel very strongly that shapeshifting is an innate capability of mine. And because of the literal physical constraints of being here in this like matterful realm, which everything is denser and everything is slower. I think that there is like part of my spirit is like, man, oh my God, like everything takes so long to integrate through matter. Yeah, not to condone necessarily the act of ending it, but I do just feel like for me personally, that's the last disclaimer. Everything I'm talking about is directly about my experience. So if it doesn't apply, it's not yours. And I'm not trying to make it yours. So yeah, that's my stance on the desire to leave. I think that in some ways and for some people, it is an aspect of divine memory, divine remembrance. The next one I want to get into is depression as clearing the vessel in order to allow something else to integrate or to prepare the body and the mind and the spirit for the next phase of whatever's coming. The first thing that came through for me when I was thinking about depression as clearing is it reminds me of fasting. And so I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, and we didn't fast regularly, but there were definitely times when we fasted, so no food, no water. But we did, up until my teen years, we did always observe the Sabbath by doing a tech fast. And so we would not use any technology from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And then, we'd close out the Sabbath and then we'd watch a family movie Saturday nights. It's a deeply core memory and familial practice that I have. But bringing that up, why'd I say any of this? Yes, I was thinking about what do I generally feel like before I go into a depressive season? And then how do I feel afterwards? And then I also was looking at life events and how they correlated or how they were interacting with depressive seasons. And for me, it acts very similarly to that function of fasting, that function of exerting willpower in order to show or declare with your actions a commitment to something. While depression does not feel like an autonomous choice, I think that it holds a similar place in that it is clearing the vessel because something big is coming. And I was speaking to Zena Varai, who I have mentioned before, it was in my podcast. You should listen to my podcast, What Happens in Between. I'll link the episode. But in my podcast, she was talking about how very often we have this energetic cycle in which, similar to a rubber band, we might stretch ourselves very far and then we contract as a means of kind of resetting in order to relax back into sort of the neutral rubber band state. So if you think about vulnerability, if you move into a situation or you have a conversation that is extremely vulnerable and you are expressing so much of yourself in that moment, you might find that over the next couple of hours or couple of days, you're in a more contracted position emotionally, energetically, because you've just expanded, you've just done this very big thing, and now you're resetting. So I feel that depression feels like an unautonomous version of that. So I didn't initiate it. I'm sure I've initiated one or two depressive cycles in my life with the choices that I made, but I do feel like the place that depression holds in my life and in my sort of spiritual understanding of this existence is one of clearing, because I can't do anything when I'm depressed. I don't really eat. All I can do is sleep and lay in bed and look at whatever is in front of me. I can't even really watch shows or consume media because I'm too tired to keep my eyes focused. What I experience when I am going through depressive seasons really feels like it clears the body. I feel that the body is just taken out, the body is fully weakened. The mental chatter is completely cut off because there's nothing to think. There aren't really thoughts to have. I'm not necessarily ruminating on anything. It's truly just, it feels like pain. It just feels like pain. And that's all I can experience when I'm experiencing depression. Certainly at the height of it, I would say that can only really last for a couple of months at a time. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like exciting or preparatory in the process of being depressed. But when I reflected on it outside of those seasons, I can see very clearly how the depression existed to clear a lot of things out, similar to purging. And then at the end of that cycle, some large scale shift in my external reality that I could not have just easily transitioned from what was happening prior to the depressive season into this new shift. I needed like a complete reset. I don't know. Because I am not currently in that phase, it's easy for me to talk about this in kind of a callous and like casual tee-hee-hee way. But I do know, and I do want to acknowledge that truly, like when I am in a depressive cycle, like all I experience is pain. And it's just like, it feels like all this emotional purging that impacts the physical in a way where I don't have energy for anything. I don't laugh. I can't feel good when I'm in a depressive season. And that really sucks, obviously. And I can see with distance, and I mean a lot of distance, a lot of distance and a lot of data points, I can see the ways in which that period of difficulty served to clear out whatever was going on before, because a new thing was coming and I had to step into the new thing. And maybe in the next cycle I will have this consciousness, but it's not something that I feel like is conscious at the time when it's happening. I just feel myself sliding deeper and deeper into this, like the exact opposite of bliss. And then I reemerge and I'm like, what's going on now? What is this? What are the next like year and a half gonna look like? Okay, here we go. I want to close with a direct quote from myself. Depression is to integration, clearing, vessel work what yoga is to meditation. And so if you don't know, the original purpose of yoga was to prepare the body for meditation. And I feel that a similar purpose is being fulfilled with my experience of depression. The body, the spirit, the mind are being prepared for something that's coming on the other side. And I don't ever or often know what is coming on the other side, but I know that I'm in a state of contraction and purging. So that's why there's so much pain. That's why there's so much crying. That's why there's so much what feels like pure agony, because I'm in a contraction. I'm in a contractive space, either because I just finished doing a big expansion or I'm moving into a big expansion life-wise. And I feel that depression is a type of purging, clearing, quieting that creates space. And weirdly enough, non-linearly, it creates energy to receive a divine something. Like, I don't know what the thing is, and I don't think it's the same all the time, but I do feel like it is a non-linear energy-giving practice that first starts by beating you the fuck up. Just absolutely beating your ass. So I think depression is clarifying. It's a tool of clarification, and sometimes it just hurts a lot to be clarified. I can feel myself actively losing energy, so I don't want to continue recording. I shall just come back another day. So I mentioned that when I'm in a depressive season is when I feel the least human, and I think most people would assume that that comes during the manic cycles. However, during mania, it's not that I feel inhuman, it's that I have a God complex. It feels really rooted in the very human tendency towards hubris. But moving into mania as channeling, this one, okay, so I need to explain what mania feels like or presents as for me. And I think I'm actually just gonna read this entire thing. I don't really want to riff too much. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read, and if I am called to riff, I will riff. Okay. To feel invincible reads as a precisely human ill. Mania as channeling, I also view channeling as a oneness with divinity. When I am manic, not only do I create a lot of things, I also don't feel the need to explain or understand my choices. And that is the biggest reason why I associate mania with channeling. When I'm channeling, either in readings or in writing or any expression, I don't necessarily understand what's going on, and I don't feel the need to. I just trust what presents itself, and then I move on. I'm continuing in presence. Also, through channeling, I am confident that the meaning will become clear, or more often, I'm just unattached to a desire for meaning, for the meaning to be clear, to decipher or to access that meaning. So my experience of mania is being, I'm gonna say, excruciatingly present for however long my body can sustain that. And I will say that I actually do feel like being properly present can be exhausting. It is both energetically filling, like I think it's very satisfying, but it's like an orgasm, I guess, right? Where you're satisfied and you're energized, but you're also like exhausted. I mean, it depends on, look, I've been dating a Scorpio lady lately, so. Channeling feels like being so open and available that pure, unadulterated wisdom can flow through me and be safe and stay intact. But not only can it be safe, but it can be safely held. That's a big portion of it for me. My experience of mania has always felt like having a visceral knowing that I am supported. Yes, my experience of mania is that the divine and material support is tactile. I can literally feel the protection, the guidance, the assistance all around me and in my body. Hence the behaviors that appear reckless or dangerous to an outside eye. However, in reality, I have a clear understanding, a clear perception, I should say, of my limits. And they're just a lot farther than yours. I just have more protection than you do. I have more padding. Or maybe you have the same amount of padding, but you don't have the felt safety that I get to experience. I don't know. So during these experiences, I know that I can do X thing and be okay because I can explicitly perceive the limits of my protection. So relating this back to channeling, there are two components, right? So one component of channeling is safety. There has to be an internal safety for myself as the vessel, that this process won't tear me up. And also, it has to be safety for whatever is coming through, that it will be held responsibly. What it means to hold something responsibly in the context of mania, or in the context of channeling. Not trying to make it make sense, or distort it, or weaponize it, or market it, while it is in the process of coming into form. That's actually really, really important to me. In general, I think this is also like a childhood wound. I grew up with people for whom imagination had to be immediately tied to a plan of action. And so I have some wounds and some bruising around just allowing a thing, an idea, or, divine information, whatever, like a download, to just pour and come into form and like crystallize a little bit before I try to like shape it. The second aspect of channeling is moving in complete trust / innocence. Can't explain that right now. Without a clarified agenda. This is so funny. I channeled this entire like 15,000 words, which you're not going to hear, while I was manic. But anyways, when I'm manic, I just move. I just act. I just do the thing. There isn't hesitation. There's no need to understand. There's no being tentative. It's simply an innate knowing that I'm going to take this step and I'm ready for whatever comes out of it. Another aspect of mania as channeling that I want to just touch on here. How do I say it? The component parts of what is in front of me feels very obvious when I am channeling. And when I am manic, the mechanics of the world are very clear. There's no confusion about like, oh, this is a construct, this is an actual physical boundary, this is a childhood wound. Like all of that looks very, very clear. And I think also when I'm channeling, that's part of it is my perception is so keen and honed in a way that is super useful. The socially constructed world is easily picked apart from actual factual physical limitations. It's not that I think I can fly. It's that I understand that the first barrier to flight, if ever we're trying to get there, is the collective social acceptance that we don't fly. And I feel like that's a valuable distinction to make about how mania shows up and how that impacts everything else. If you watch this entire video, thank you very much. This feels a little different than how I normally like to do things, but as I am orienting towards truer and truer expression in public, this is where we are. I don't know about if there's interest. I almost don't care. Sorry. If this feels good when I'm editing it, I will do a second part or as many parts to go through the other neurodivergent traits that I experience and that I have opinions on. Otherwise, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on neurodivergence, you can check out this video where I talk about why I actually don't like that term, but I still continue to use it because there's some kind of value that I see in it. Watch the video, find out what it is.